Alexander Usyk has finally had an interview after knocking out Triple D in that spectacular fight where he became undisputed heavyweight champion once again, and he speaks of his motivations to continue to fight. I think this is interesting. Let's dive in. So Usyk has mentioned in his latest interview that he is willing to fight until he's 41. Actually, he's planned to fight until he's 41. So if we look at this and just say he fights once every year, we're looking at least an additional 3 fights before he finishes up his boxing career. So this is good. There's still fights to be had for Alexander Usyk, and if he does defend his undisputed title an additional 3 times, or remains champion at least with 3 belts or even 2 belts up until he's 41, then that will just improve his record and probably sit him a bit better in terms of history and one of the best fighters as a heavyweight. So I first want to look at his motivations. When you look at someone like Tyson Fury, when he initially fought Klitschko and won those 3 belts, we've seen what happened. He kind of reached a peak at that point in time in his career, and he reached the top of the mountain, so he believed. And then what happened? He just went off the rails. Boxing wasn't as interesting for him. Then he made that spectacular comeback and eventually got the WBC title and would go on to beat Wilder multiple times. Lost or drew with him the first fight, but then came back and beat him 2 more times after that. And he also got to fight for the undisputed title twice, unfortunately losing to the man Usyk. And we have seen in recent times Tyson Fury falling retirement, has not fought since he's said he's retired. So maybe he is retired. Maybe he isn't coming back, even though there's talks that he might come back and fight AJ. Hopefully, we'll see. But I think the second time for Tyson, or third time or fourth time, I don't know how many times he's retired, but the most recent time he's retired, I think a lot of it has to do with how much money he has made in recent times. Yep, with the help of Turki Al-Sheikh and his promotions and getting him the big bucks and fighting for undisputed. So he's kind of reached the pinnacle in terms of fortunes in boxing. So that's kind of dwindled his motivation to keep fighting, I think. And when you don't have that motivation, you don't have the motivation not just to fight, but you don't have the motivation to win. And then if you do continue fighting, you're not really fighting to win. You're just fighting for a paycheck or other reasons, or just to be there. For Alexander Usyk, I think it's different. I think he keeps on giving himself motivation to fight. I think he keeps on motivating himself to continue to fight. He was the cruiserweight undisputed champion, moved up to heavyweight, and his goal was to at least win a title, eventually become undisputed heavyweight champion, and he did that twice. And after his last fight, by knocking out Triple D, that could have been the pinnacle. He could have just stopped and gone, okay, I'm 38 years old now, I might just retire. But he has other motivating factors for him to continue. And his motivating factor is he wants to start a sports academy. So I think he wants to continue to fight and continue to mark his legacy, not just for the sake of marking his legacy, but also gain more money, gain more funds, and be able to have the money to spend on this sports academy and put into the sports academy and give back, I'm assuming, to the Ukraine people, because that's what I'm assuming it's going to be, unless he has it somewhere else. But I think he will give it back to the community from where he was born, from where he lives, the Ukraine. So to me, I think that's the drive, and I don't think we're going to see him dwindling in terms of his skills and talent and motivation. So I think they're not just going to be fights just for the money. I think he's still fighting for legacy. So he still wants to continue to make that legacy bigger and better than what it currently is. So motivation is everything, and he still has motivation, and he also has a plan to fight until he's 41 and then build the sports academy and then train there and run that sports academy. So when you have a goal and motivation to do what you want to do and achieve what you want to achieve, that drives you. So he still has that drive, unlike Tyson Fury, where I think he's done what he's done. I think now the fights are just for money. It's not so much legacy now. I'm sure he would love to get an undisputed title. I'm sure he probably would fight Usyk again if the offer was on the table. But I think his motivating factor has, in the last few years, has been titles, but a lot of it's been money as well, the big bickies, and that's what he has earned. But then the next question is, who is Usyk going to fight? He's already said he won't fight a Tuma. He's already ruled him out, but I think that's just ruled out for his next fight. I think it's still a possibility. I just think he doesn't want to fight him next. I think Wardley or Parker will be the next one for Usyk, depending on who wins that. I think that Parker will win. I think Joseph Parker will win and probably go on to fight Usyk, because I think that's the next one to happen. And I think Joseph Parker, I think everyone agrees that Joseph Parker deserves a shot, especially if he beats Wardley. That's just put him in the line to fight Usyk even more. So if we're going to go 3 fights, I think probably the 3 fights would be Joseph Parker if he wins, Wardley if Wardley wins as the next fight, so whoever wins between them. Then I think it might be a Tuma or Fury. I think Fury, if he does come back, because there are talks that he's coming back to fight AJ, so if he comes back and beats AJ, then there is a potential lineup for Fury Usyk 3. And I think that will still be a decent seller, and that would probably be it for Fury. Then I think maybe his last fight, maybe Usyk's last fight might be a Tuma, or it could be his second fight. I think you'd prefer to fight a Tuma a bit sooner rather than later, because he's going to continue to gain those skills. And I think the next fight that a Tuma has is going to line him up for a title shot anyway. So he might not have a choice if he wants to keep all 4 belts, Usyk. He might go Wardley or Parker next fight, a Tuma next fight after that, and assuming that there's only going to be 3 fights, a fight per year, maybe Fury, who knows. But that's a bit down the path, so it could be anyone really. I mean, we're talking the next 3 years. So it depends how the heavyweight division shapes and molds and changes over the next few years. But it's good. I'm glad that Usyk is willing to fight until he's 41. And I think that's not a bad age, especially these days with all the science and technology and how they train and that these days. I think you can push the limits with age in terms of your fighting career. And he hasn't had an extensive fighting career in terms of the pro rankings. So he is able to still continue on in the pro rankings for a bit longer. But anyway, just wanted to update you guys on what's happening with Usyk and the fact that he's going to continue to fight until he's 41. Just not sure how that's going to occur and who he's going to fight, but he does have motivation to continue to win and to fight until he's 41, which is great. As always, guys, leave your thoughts and comments below, and until next time, peace out.
Myths in boxing, highlight reels mean, front row seats to the blow by blow scene.